Hey everyone, welcome to episode 11 of Rough Pumpkins. This week's definitely going to be a little different. I'm doing a solo episode. I hope that's okay with you. I got some stuff that I want to talk about, and I was gigging all weekend up in Lake George, which I consider Lake George Beach Club. That's like my home away from home. And I was playing up there this weekend, and it just it got me thinking about playing music and all the different kind of capacities that we play music in, whether it be like a cover gig like I was doing all weekend, and the things that come along with that, and how you can integrate your other experiences and your social experiences into your gigging life and your gigging platform. If you're going to be doing something like this, like in a creative field, you never want to limit yourself to like one thing, like, oh, I just play gigs, or, oh, I just teach lessons, or you want to try to keep yourself well-versed and know, something that's been on my mind is how can I take my skills from one part of what I do in music. So live performance, that's what I did the most of for a long time. With the band, how can I take those and carry those over into an acoustic cover gig when I was playing originals with my electric band for 15 years on the road? How do I carry that energy over into my acoustic cover gigs? Well, for one, I can't. It's not going to be exactly the same. It's going to be a little bit different. I have a looper pedal I use. I can get things pretty full. I can lay down a nice rhythm track and still do solos sometimes, but it's just not the same, and this expectation isn't the same. I mean, I'm playing for people who usually, my slot is around 5 to 8. So I'm playing for people who are trying to eat dinner, or just trying to still talk. So I'm trying not to be too loud. I'm not trying to be the center of attention in these kind of scenarios. That's not my job. I'm being paid to create atmosphere and play songs that people want to hear. Now, if you view it the same as, well, I'm playing these classic rock hits and I'm playing all these popular songs, and you're not, well, I'm not getting to play any of my own music. Well, it's not that your music isn't good. It's just people don't know it, so you're going to get no response and really no positive reaction. I mean, sometimes a friend will come and a friend will say, hey, why don't you play more Wild Adriatic songs? Or, hey, can you play Cooperstown or something? And I'm just like, yeah, I mean, I will for you if it's not a bunch of people. But if there's a bunch of people there and they're really into it, I'm probably going to go into something like listen to the music by the Doobie Brothers rather than, play one of my own original songs, because the fact of the matter is I'm playing for tourists, and they're not from around here. So they're not going to know the band. They might be like, oh, that's a cool song. And yeah, you could push yourself. There's nothing wrong with throwing an original set in the song, or original song in the set, but you just want to be careful, because the way I come to terms with it and the way I make it so none of these things bum me out is I keep them so isolatedly separate. So when someone comes up to me and asks me to play a song, I am okay with saying, hey, I want to keep playing covers, because that's what the crowd wants right now. That's what the bar needs to keep people in here right now. That's what's going to get me tips right now. So I'm not going to, I love, obviously when I write songs, I enjoy the songs I write, but I'm not going to play them at an inappropriate time. There's a time and a place. I talk about my music to people if they're interested in hearing about it, but you just got to know what you're there for, and know your worth, and know that like you have a life outside of of cover gigs. Sometimes when I'm playing a lot, it can really feel like oh, I'm just playing cover gigs and my voice is so tired that I can't really give everything to an original project or another project that I want to work on. But it's about finding balance and taking really good care of your voice. You need to take good care of your voice if you're going to be gigging like regularly, because if you're not using it correctly, it will go away and you will just struggle. And you need to hydrate all day long. I said this a couple podcasts ago, but I mean, I figured since I'm by myself, I can focus more on just a couple little things that can really help singers. You need to hydrate all day. I mean, I don't mean all day. I mean, every day, all day. You stay hydrated. If you're a singer and you're doing singing professionally, you need to stay hydrated all the time, because your vocal cords need to stay hydrated and they're the last thing to get it, because all this stuff, all this water you're drinking, it's going to all the parts of your body that keep you alive. Your vocal cords are one of the last priorities for your body. So water is not going to be like, we got to get to those cords. We got to get to those cords. So make sure you drink water. And this sounds like the most basic shit, but drink a ton of water. And drinking water beforehand, you don't want to be guzzling cups and bottles of water while you're on the stage. The last thing you want to be doing is chugging bottles of water on stage. It's unless I've had it in the summer where I'm like, okay, I'm like really just thirsty and I need water. But you don't want to be doing that unless you're like actually sweating it out and getting dehydrated, because you're like, oh, I need this drink for my voice. I need this drink for my voice. Well, that water that you're drinking right then, it's doing nothing to help your voice at that moment. It's literally going down past your vocal cords, going down. Maybe it'll get up there later, but you're not hydrating yourself. You need to coat. If you're looking to like keep your mouth from getting dry and from getting like a lack of saliva buildup, you need to be drinking something that's got a little syrup to it. Maybe I try not to recommend like drinking sugary drinks like all the time, but I mean like if you're singing and you have a small amount of Pepsi, because there's a little syrup, it can't be Diet Pepsi because you need the syrup. Something like that, that's more likely to coat your vocal cords than if you're chugging bottle after bottle of water. You can just sit there after a song and be like, wow, my voice, and you just keep chugging water. What you're doing is you're stripping the vocal cords of what your body it does produce for you. Saliva, you need that. So you drink too much water, you're actually taking that away from you, and you're ruining yourself, and you're setting yourself up for failure. So my biggest thing is I treat myself to a Pepsi. It's just, I have one. It's unhealthy, like sugar wise. I realize that there's other options. That's not the only option. I mean, there's tons of different kinds of syrup things. That's just easily readily available at bars. Is a Coke, a Pepsi, even a freaking RC Cola. It doesn't matter. They're all the same thing, just different name. So that's hyper important, singers. Okay. And that goes for everything. I'm not saying if you're doing a musical, hey, have 7 bottles of Pepsi on the sides of the stage, but it's one thing that can really help you. It's just the things that people, don't think about. A lot of people drink beer while they play, which is, I get it to a degree. Like if you're not singing like stuff that is super vocally hard and you're just trying to have a good time, I'm not here to burst your bubble about it. I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm just, I get a lot of questions about stamina and longevity, like when it comes to singing, because, in the summertime I sing 6 nights a week. We used to tour, 250 days a year. And I used to stress about my voice all the time. And when I got to a point where I wasn't stressing about it as much, it was much easier to keep my voice than when I was stressing so hard. The stress only adds to you're overthinking it. You start going, oh my God, is it there? And you wake up and you're like, oh, well, when everyone wakes up, your voice sucks. It's just, you got to give yourself time. You got to talk. You got to do some lip trills. You got to do some warming up, some before you even make the noise. You can start with the start with those breaths. That gets the air flowing the way that you want to be releasing that air when you're singing. So I always start with the trills, just the lip trills. Then I add in a note. And my voice is really tired from the weekend, so I'm doing actually a really bad job of them right now. These are really short. They should be because I was able to like release more slowly. You don't want to be pushing air out all the time. But you know, part of that, it's giving me tired, sultry voice. Probably doesn't feel, in my head it feels that way, because that's another thing. When you're singing and you're hearing yourself, you're always going to hear yourself lower, more full in your own head. And that's because it's bouncing all over your skull. So everyone who hears their voice recorded and goes, that's what I sound like? That, oh my God, I sound like that? Yeah, because yes, that is what you sound like to other people. What you sound like up here in your head when you're talking and you hear yourself, that is a much fuller, lower tone. Like, maybe I'm used to it because I've been recording music since like 2000, but I'm really used to hearing my own voice, so I'm like, oh yeah, that's what I sound like on record. But when you come around people who haven't heard themselves talking on camera or singing, or they're like, oh my God, that's what I sound like? My voice is so high and stupid. It's like, no, you're just used to hearing it with this low, crazy rumbling that you get from your own skull. And it's just like, so those are the things like people think about when they hear themselves recorded, and I always hear them, people say like, that's what I sound like. And it messes with your head. This whole kind of thing, like being a vocalist or being a musician, it messes with your head. And the thing is, the vocal is the least reliable instrument. Your vocal cords are your least reliable instrument, basically, because everything that goes through them and everything you put in your body has an effect on them. Every day they're going to be a little different. It depends. What's the humidity in the air? How hot is it? How cold is it? Like, yeah, you can do things to create consistency in your environment, but it all matters, and it's never going to be the same every single day. It's not going to be exactly the same every single day. There's some days where I'm like, okay, well, vocally I can excel at this, and vocally I can excel at that. And there's some days where like, man, my falsetto kind of like getting into it just sucks today. I can't naturally just roll right into my falsetto. Like today is one of those days. Yesterday, I don't know, maybe it's better. Like, it's gone. Like my voice is too tired right now. Usually it's just fast, but I can't get into that. But what I would lean into on a day like today, if I were to be playing, is songs that are in more of a lower tenor, higher baritone range. And honestly, my higher falsetto can deal with that too. Like, it's the lower falsetto, the range starts to get tired. It's where my full voice meets my head voice, and that gap starts to open as your voice gets fatigued. So first of all, I'm recording a podcast right now, so I'm definitely not resting my voice. I should be, and I plan on it. And I'm not going to sit here and talk at you forever, just for a little bit. But yeah, I think these things are helpful little things that can help you keep your stamina. If you're a singer, you don't have to be in a band or be an acoustic solo singer. You could do musical theater. You could be singing your local choir, school choir. These are all helpful little hints. And honestly, the biggest thing is your voice is a muscle. It's a muscle like any other. If I were to go into the gym tomorrow after not being in the gym for a year and start curling 30-pound dumbbells right off the bat, I'm probably going to struggle a little bit just because I haven't been lifting. It's the same with the voice. When I'm singing almost 6 days a week, it's strong. It gets stronger. You're using it. You're using that muscle. The more you use it, the more you build it, but you don't want to push it over it's just like any other muscle. You don't want to push yourself. You don't want to, you don't want to tear your bicep. You don't want to do anything, give yourself nodules on your vocal cords or tear them. But it's hard too, because being a singer is an emotional thing and people get emotional when they're singing and you just belt it out. But it's like knowing when you gotta pull it back in. You gotta pull it back in and you gotta ask yourself, is my output worth this moment right now vocally? And usually the answer is yes, because you're trying to put on a good show. But I would be lying if I said if I'm playing, especially at a cover gig or something, and I didn't, I'll just, if I can falsetto a note that's really high, that maybe like just not feeling great that day, I will do it, because it's a marathon and not a sprint at those kind of gigs. And you just don't want to be in a position where you can't sing anymore and your set still has time. So you also need to pick your songs correctly at the right time. I start the set with some lower songs and I kind of just build my way up, and I kind of warm, other than the lip trills, I kind of warm myself up as I start playing. Cause I'm not trying to I'm trying to get everything I can out of my voice. So I'm going to start, I start with the song, who is it? It's moving forward, using all my breath. Yeah. So that's, I'll stop the world and melt with you. That one, I always start with that one because it's got a nice, it's not like crazy low, but for me, in my register, it's on the lower side. And then I'll ease into something like Learning to Fly by Tom Petty, which is in mostly in a nice middle register. Just gets it gets a little higher, like in the chorus, learning to fly, but nothing crazy. It's totally manageable. So I have my songs picked out that make sense to start with, depending on how my voice feels that day. This is why I try not to write out set lists either. If you're in a band situation, you should definitely write out set lists so everybody's on the same page. But if you're playing by yourself, you don't really need to do that. First of all, I let the crowd, what the crowd wants and seems like the vibe is, what I'm feeling vocally, or even my hand is tired. It depends, what guitar am I playing? Am I playing the acoustic Gibson J45? I also play an Acoustasonic that's broken right now. It broke. The electronics stopped working, so it's being fixed. But that is it's a little easier on the hands. So that's something that affects my my choice of song. What guitar am I playing? How's my voice feeling? People are going to request songs, and they might not be that might not be the song you wanted to play at that moment. But if you know it, you just play it. That's why you're there. You might get yourself a tip. That's why you're there. You're there. You're there to work. You're there to make money, but you're also there to enjoy yourself. There's certain things I just won't do. There's certain songs I won't play. I won't play Sweet Caroline. I've said this before. I said this on the first episode of the podcast. I won't play Sweet Caroline. I usually lie about knowing how to play Wagon Wheel. These might be really unpopular opinions. I'm not going to play Wagon Wheel. I can play it, but I'm not going to play it. I'm not going to do it. I don't know. There's certain, but I'll play Freebird out of spite. Somebody yells Freebird at one of my gigs. I'm playing that fucking song and it's going to be 10 plus minutes. I'm playing the whole beginning, nice and slow, just like the song. I'm going through all the verses. And then when it breaks into the solo section at the end, I'm looping those chords and I'm going to be throwing down on the guitar. So if you are going to yell Freebird for me, you better get ready because I'm doing everything. I'm doing the whole shebang. I'm freeing the bird. It's a full circle moment because people have been yelling Freebird at concerts since Freebird existed, I guess. And usually you just ignore it and you're like, roll your eyes and say, oh God, shut the fuck up. But no, now you want Freebird? This is what you want? All right, let's go Freebird. I guess it's just I didn't play the song for so many years because of everything. And now that I'm 37 years old, I'm like, all right, I'll play, let's try Freebird. Let's throw that on the set list, throw that on the chord chart, just so I have it up. And I don't play at most gigs, but if somebody's yelling Freebird, I'm going to do it. And it's honestly, it's not that hard. It's long. It takes up a lot of time. People are usually like, wow, this song is long. This is really, really long. And then when you get it looping and you can do the heavy part at the end with the solos. Then you can loop that shit. So you can lay these little harmonies over each other. And it sounds like you got all three guitar players from Skynyrd. It doesn't say, not exactly. I do my best with it, but what I'm saying is, I don't know where this thought was going, but it sits with me. That the Freebird thoughts are always sitting with me. It's never going to go away. I wonder if something's going to replace it. That people are going to start yelling out. That's going to be annoying. I mean, maybe the closest thing we've had so far is Wagon Wheel to the annoyance of yelling Freebird. I mean, there's bars that have signs that literally say no wagon wheel in here. No wagon wheel allowed. You can't play wagon wheel in here. So yeah. So now that we're on episode 11 of this podcast, I figured I'll be more settled and we can do a solo show, and what I expected was to have a hard time sitting here and talking to nobody. But what I'm finding is that I have so much bullshit that I want to say and I don't want to interrupt anybody, that this is probably a good way to say a lot of that stuff. Now, that being said, I love having guests on because it's somebody to talk to and I'm not by myself. I'm really lonely right now. I'm all by myself. But basically, it goes for gigging, any kind of business, any kind of podcast, building something bigger and building something long term, and that's what I'm trying to do with this podcast. Is I would like to build this podcast bigger in a long term and keep it long term. This isn't, it's a good outlet. I love getting people on here and talking about their passions and their creativity. And I love joking and shooting the shit with everybody. Honestly, it's a joy to me. So 11 episodes in, I just wanted to say, if you're part of this and you actually listen, I appreciate the shit out of you. Because I know this isn't a podcast for everybody. It's kind of a niche kind of thing, but I know the feedback I've gotten from people is really, really nice. And I've also gotten some really not nice feedback on some unpopular opinions. And that's really okay. And I've come to terms and accepted that sometimes you got to create a little bit of tension in order to make people pay attention. Create some tension to make them pay attention. I got to patent that. So, upon building this podcast, before that, I'm mostly doing, studio work and playing live gigs in the area. And one thing that I think people don't realize about gigging, and this goes for bands as well. I mean, honestly, it goes more so for bands. So bands or a solo artist is playing for let's just say 3 hours. You're not seeing the load in, the sound check, the setup, all the things that go along with getting a show ready. Now, for a band, it's big. It's a lot. It's a ton. And if you're not playing, when I play by myself, it's a pretty quick setup. I still have to drive there. I still have to load in my gear unless I left it there. And it's a pretty quick thing. But I got to dial in my sound. I gotta be there, and you want to be social, and you want to be in a good mood, and not acting like a egotistical prick. That's another thing. You want to be in a good mood and not acting like you're better than everybody. And I think people respect that, and you don't talk, even though you're literally above people on the stage. Don't talk to them like you're above them. Because I see a lot of musicians just roll eyes. If somebody has a request, like, they're not a musician. This is not what they do for a living. If you feel like it's a silly request, just, try not to just say like, oh yeah, no, I know that song. Honestly, that's really hard for me to pull off on acoustic, but I would love to try to do that someday. I try to do that, to say that, because then it's not putting down, it's not saying no to anyone's idea. It's like, and if you're saying, no, I can't do that, sorry. It's like ripping the wind out of someone's sails, even though I can't do it at that moment. But there's I'm like, here, the option's open. Like, I'm going to check that out. And if you come back, and maybe I will play that song. Sometimes people give me ideas, songs I didn't think about. Like, a few months ago, somebody was like, hey, do you know any Cat Stevens? And Cat Stevens is obviously enormous. And for some reason, I'm like, no. So I downloaded a chord chart for Wild World right there, and I know it well enough just from hearing it, where I just played it. And so it's in the rotation, but I'm like, why didn't I have fucking Cat Stevens in my set list? Now, that may sound weird because I refuse to play like Sweet Caroline and stuff, but that's just, I just can't do it. There's some things I can't do, and I'll get eaten alive, I know, for some of my musical opinions, but at the end of the day, they're my opinions, and they're just musical opinions, and I'm not hurting anybody. And I got lit up on Facebook from many men above the age of 50 about Allentown by Billy Joel, just because I said it's not my favorite Billy Joel song, and I said the songwriting was kind of lazy. And what people said back to me was, what the fuck have you written? And I looked at that comment and I thought to myself, good point. I haven't written a hit. So, yeah, but I still am allowed to criticize it like a real music critic. And the That's okay. I don't mind being lit up on the internet. I can honestly, I can handle it. Give me, engage with my content. I appreciate it. If you don't agree with me, that's fine. That's fine. You can tell me. Just don't call me names. I might hurt you. Hurt my fifi. You're gonna hurt my fifis if you call me names. This sounds kind of dumb, but the more I do this, the less certain I feel. Like, because experience doesn't always equate to confidence. Because I've seen some of the most unexperienced people be the most confident people you might ever see in your life. But I think the right amount of confidence, as much experience as you have and could have possibly gotten in your life at that point, is an humility, and you leave your ego at the door. Nobody wants an egotistical cover guy. It's not impressive. No one's like, wow, that guy is so cool. I mean, unless you just are a cool guy. You got to be a cool guy or girl or whatever at the end of the day. And then if you happen to be talented and a good singer, that's great. But you have to be a good person first, because it's not 1980, whatever. And the way the world works now with social media is we know everybody's lives. Bands have become some type of content creators, which was, when I started playing seriously in bands back in 2004 or 5, something like that, like bands weren't expected to do the amount of work that they do now. Essentially, I see a lot of new, they say rock music is dead, but I see a lot of new bands on all the social media platforms, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. I see reels. I mean, I see these kids or young adults making, basically skits, which is pretty funny. I mean, some of them are really good. I can see why this would be a taxing thing to do if you're trying to write music and that's your focus, and be like, hey guys, okay, we got to set aside 4 hours on Thursday to record a ton of content for the week. That's like not something we really had to think about much, in the aughts, in the teens. In the teens, yeah, it started to become more of a thing. But now, in 2026, holy shit, because you're not just writing music. You're not just recording music. You're not just learning your instrument, honing your instrument. Now you're learning, okay, I got to edit this video. I got to learn how to use this editing software, whatever it may be. I know, I got to learn how to use Instagram. I need to now know how to use TikTok, Facebook Reels, YouTube Shorts, because I need to start understanding the algorithm, or else nobody is going to hear my music. And the unfortunate reality is you do need those things now. You can't ban that and be like, well, yeah, we're just not going to do that. Or else, honestly, you're just not going to do much. You have to. It's part of, most businesses. I can't just say musicians. I see restaurants, getting creative with social media. Any front-facing business, really, you got to have some sort of social media presence, and it's taxing. Releasing content to release every day. You have to enjoy it to a degree. You have to, because if you don't, you're gonna not be happy. Because it's not going to do well right away. You got to build something. This is about building something from the beginning, staying consistent. That's the thing. You have to stay consistently posting, making music, this, that, the other thing. You can milk a lot out of a small amount of content, but what I see, and following trends, following TikTok trends, following Instagram trends, that helps. Why won't, hey, check out our new song. on Instagram with a little snippet in the background, nobody, I would say I care, but nobody is going to, in today's algorithm, no one's going to stop for that. You need an entry point beyond, hey, we have a new song. We have a new song, everybody. That's not enough of an entry point for someone to be like, oh, cool, let me go click. No, you need to entertain them somehow on Instagram and make a way, or TikTok, and find a way to work your song into that thing that's interesting to them. And then if enough people start using that audio, it can blow up into this massive thing. But it takes time and it takes tons of effort. I can't, for the love of God, I cannot remember the guy's name, but the dude who sings the Ordinary song, the Ordinary, like I saw, it was a reel I saw of him talking about how hard he tried to get that song to go viral on TikTok on, it might have been 100 different accounts. Maybe it was like 40, 100. It was a lot of accounts. He used many different accounts trying to get that song to explode. And also the record company didn't believe in that song either. So he's literally, I have this song I believe in, and the record company doesn't even want it to be the single, that Ordinary song. And dude puts so much effort, makes it go viral. TikTok shuts down like right after when it went dark for a while. All that hard work, boom, TikTok shuts down. TikTok comes back. He starts doing the same thing and it starts to get some traction. And everybody knows that song now. The Ordinary, taking me out of the mood. I don't know the word, but I just know the song. I feel bad for not knowing the guy's name because he's obviously worked his fucking ass off and he made this happen for himself when his own record label didn't believe in him. Like, he made it on TikTok without what's the point? Distribution after he blew it up? Cool. I mean, that's great. What's distribution mean now? Because you don't need distribution into FYE anymore. Distributing on streaming platforms, I mean, anybody can do that. I mean, there's obviously things you can do with major label money that you're not able to do independently, but that's insane to me that, that's the state of the music industry. It's like you're kind of on your own. You kind of got to make it happen for yourself. Nobody gets like, hey guys, we're going to get signed. That was the thing, in the early, that was the thing from the record companies existing up until about 2005. I think the last major record deal, big time record deal, was Kid Rock in probably the late 90s. That was probably one of the last major big record deals. Because now everything has changed. The way media is consumed has changed. Spotify is huge. Apple Music. There's all these streaming platforms, obviously. I know everybody has feelings about certain ones and their own personal beliefs when it comes to like the ethics of a lot of these companies, which they're not very ethical. And nobody really pays the artists that well. We were making original musicians were making more money with physical media, not with digital media. It's really having a CD, even still to this day, bands print CDs so you can sell at their merch table so somebody can have a physical piece of media. You can get it signed. You can get, I mean, obviously I prefer vinyl. It's really expensive to print vinyl. But obviously it's really cool and you have to charge more because it costs more. But it just seems like vinyl's made sort of a resurgence, and CDs are almost like, I feel like we're at a point where like, okay, CDs are almost so outdated. They're almost cool again. Cassettes are cool again. And, they don't skip like a CD, but CDs, the problem is now nobody has a CD player in their car. I don't have a CD player in my car. and it's 2021. It's not even brand new. So what, I grab my boombox out from my mom's basement, like, and listen to my CDs, go buy one of those new yellow Walkmans that's made to look like the anti-skip Walkmans from the 90s. I don't know. There's this really weird moment in gigs that nobody really ever talks about, other than bands, but in between songs, and when you're playing by yourself, and what that time is like. When I first started playing acoustic gigs by myself, I felt so uncomfortable in the silence after a song. And if I needed to tune one of my strings, I'm very like, I need to be in tune, or else everything falls apart for me. And with acoustic guitar, and sometimes, especially this time of year, it's cold. You're bringing it in from the cold, bringing it into a warmer but still kind of cold environment. It's gonna go out of tune a bunch, and it used to feel awkward to tune in between songs, until I realized that nobody's like paying attention, and what feels like a minute for me is about 15 seconds. So it feels like forever, because I guess there's no music happening, but I've learned to settle into that silence and just deal with that. And hey, it's okay. When I look panicked, it seems not okay. Oh God, I'm trying to tune up really quick. Oh, I need to get a drink real quick. No, it's just take a beat. After a couple songs, take a beat, tune up. If you're out of tune, tune up. Grab a sip of Pepsi or Coke, not water unless you're just really thirsty and feel like stripping your vocal cords of all their goodness. And just make sure you're ready for your next song, because the worst feeling is playing a song, going into the next one, and then your B string's out of tune, and you got to go through the whole song like that. Sometimes I'll be so out of tune, I'll do something like that, and I'll just start looping the chord progression out of tune, and then I will let that go. I'll go back to my tuner and I will just start tuning it up. I'm like, I am not going through the whole set like this. It's not happening. It burns my ears. And I think a lot of people relate to that. The acoustic out of tune it's not a good feeling. It's a bad feeling. The part that nobody prepares you for is you have to decide what matters. What matters, but not to just what matters to the crowd, but what matters to you, and finding a balance about how can I make them happy, and how can I keep myself happy, and how can we make this a mutually beneficial situation. And you can still find ways to be creative and find your own style and playing I feel like, honestly, learning so many songs, learning so many cover songs and just different stuff, it's schooled me so well in just bringing me new tools to write my own music. Or, basically I'm doing what AI does, but I'm a real person. We take our influences and listen to music, and you can draw from that. I'm like, oh, that's a really cool chord. Like, what a cool chord shape that is in that song. How can I work that into my music? It's not going to sound the same, but you can create these branches off of little ideas and just keep growing, and you can just build. So it's such a good experience to learn all these songs for me, because it just makes me understand writing more and people's writing styles. And it makes me understand just music more in general, and just things. There's such a vast array of things you can do with music, and choices that aren't correct. There's no wrong notes, they say. I mean, to a degree, but there really are no wrong notes. And there's some weird, cool pop songs out there that use things that you would just really never expect. Like what's a real okay. Um Just Another Day by John Cicada, I think it is. Cicada, John Cicada. Um that if you go and listen to that song right now, it is the rhythm is weird. The chords are weird. Everything's in a weird place. It has nothing of like a normal pop song. There's no like, oh, 4-chord pop song. No, it's insane. It changes keys. It changes chords at such a weird time. Another good writer who does this is Sting. He does it all the time. I mean, his stuff is, there's not so much the Police stuff, but actually Synchronicity is insane. But a lot of the solo Sting stuff, I mean, it's weird rhythms, does unexpected chord changes, unexpected key changes, like the song Faith. If I ever lose my faith in you. So what's great about that song is like the verse is in one key and it's bouncing. You're like, okay, this is a groove. Dun 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 dun. If I ever lose my faith in you, totally changes key. There'll be nothing left for me to do left. So it's the same except for that. If I ever lose my faith in you, there'll be nothing left. It's the only different note in that part, but it makes the whole melody completely different. And then when it comes out of the chorus, it goes back to the OG key. So it's just really cool. Another band who does that a lot is Def Leppard. I'd say they're one of the kings of changing the keys for the chorus. I mean, it's hard to think of, I guess, Photograph comes to mind. Oh God, a lot of their songs, they always change key in the chorus. That's like their thing. Yeah, so Def Leppard, Photograph, that's another good example. It's just smart songwriting, and it kind of keeps things interesting. When the verse, you're used to hearing this, and then it's like, oh, we switch key, and there's the hook, and it's just like, it's kind of just like, it's a grab you kind of thing. But learning these songs, back to what the original point was, learning these songs makes your music vocabulary way, 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 way bigger. I mean, it will improve your songwriting. I mean, you can learn from these brilliant songwriters of the past, basically, that have paved the way. So many cool tricks, so much cool little music theory stuff that, I mean, you don't need to know music theory, but just, oh wow, I can do that in my music. I can go switch to this chord. That's not against the rules. It's about breaking the rules and finding it and having it be appealing. Breaking the rules in music while keeping it appealing is one of the best things you can do for a song, because you hit the listener with something completely unexpected and just something right out of left field, but it works and it keeps them engaged and doesn't make them go, oh, no, it makes them go, yeah, that's awesome. So finding that balance is something I try to do. I've tried to do it. I mean, I love 4 chords in a good story. I love 3 chords in a good story. Even 2 chords in a good story, you can make a pretty dope song. But these little things can just set your songwriting over the edge just a little bit. And it's really cool to experience. I mean, some of these songs, some of these older songs I haven't heard. I was born in 1988, so it's not like I grew up on classic rock. I guess technically now what I grew up on is classic rock, because we're talking, I put Pearl Jam on the classic rock station, and Yeah, that's a whole nother story. But I didn't grow up with like Zeppelin. I didn't grow up with Def Leppard. I didn't grow up with Aerosmith. I didn't grow up with those powerhouse, classic rock bands. And it's amazing. Some of them are like, oh yeah, whatever. But like, just to bring up another amazing musician, Boston, Tom Schultz, the guy who wrote all of the Boston material. He recorded their debut album in his basement. He recorded their debut album, Boston, in his basement. Basically, except for, I think, the vocals they retracked in L.A. Brad Delp tracked the vocals, and they basically fooled the record company thinking they were re-recording the whole thing in L.A., when in reality, Tom was in his basement refining everything, and Brad was recording the vocals. So that's one of the coolest stories in classic rock history. Not to mention that Tom Schultz writing, production, and engineering, honestly, is completely genius. I mean, that guy built like most of the stuff he used to record that Boston album. He plays the organ on there. He plays guitar. He plays the bass on that first album. I don't think he plays the drums. I could be totally wrong. I'm going to find out because I have the internet. Drummer on Boston. Drummer for Boston album. Okay, so it was not Tom. Okay. Sib Hashin was the primary drummer for Boston's self-debut in 1976 and their follow-up album. While founder Tom Schultz recorded most instruments, Hashin was hired to replace original drummer Jim Musdia for the debut studio recordings and subsequent touring, contributing to the band's signature sound on hits like More Than a Feeling. I'm Casey Kasem. No, I'm just kidding. That's what I felt like I was headed in that direction. But that dude played everything. Tom Schultz, except for the drums on that album. And it's just an incredible, that whole full first album is incredible. But I love to play those songs at my acoustic gigs. I play More Than a Feeling. I play, was it not Long Time Foreplay? Peace of Mind. I play Peace of Mind and More Than a Feeling. And obviously, yeah, my voice has got to feel okay if I want to play those. Usually when it's warmed up, I'm feeling it. I'm like, okay, cool. Yeah, we can do this. And I've learned so much just from like learning a ton of the Billy Joel catalog. I love Billy Joel. You might not think so because of what I said about Allentown. It's one song. And it's the only song I'm not a big fan of. And it has its place in history. It did make the charts, and good is subjective. So I'm not going to sit here and say I like it and it's good. I showed it to some early 20-somethings of friends of mine the other day, and I just said, "Hey guys, I'm going to show you a song, and I want you to tell me what you think." So I just played them the song. I didn't give any context, and I was like, "Okay, well, I let it go for until the first chorus." And I said, "Well, what do you think?" And they said, "Oh man, that was terrible." So I'm just saying, like, I know we have our connections to these songs. I'm not putting down Allentown, the town. If anything, Billy was putting down Allentown, and he really should have. He was talking about Bethlehem. Anyway, I'm not going to get all into this again. I don't want to make another. I don't want to get yelled at by old white guys on the internet about how good Allentown is anymore. And then, but what have you written? What have you written? Let's see a list of your hits. Let's see a list of your hits. Oh, I'm like, oh, the best I can do is link. Here's my Spotify. I can link that, or here's our Apple Music link. You can listen to some of the songs I've written. You can decide whether I'm worthy of saying Allentown is good or bad. So, but I just basically wanted to come on here and talk, because that's what I like to do. I like to talk, and I like to talk about music. I like to talk about the struggles of being a musician. I'm I'm super thankful for everybody, again, that has given a shit about this podcast and that listens. I see you and I see the downloads, and I really, as my grandmother used to say, it warms the cockles of my heart. So Rough Pumpkins is growing. Rough Pumpkins will likely be moving sometime in the near future, hopefully into a bigger space. I can't give you many details about that right now, but it's something I'm really excited about, and a lot of other things too, a lot of other cool news to come along with. But thank you guys so much for tuning in to my rambling episode 11. I hope I could give you something that was at least a little bit entertaining or enjoyable. If not, I'm greatly apologetic for wasting your time. But I had fun. I had fun hanging out with you. What am I, Mr. Rogers? Hello there, neighbor. I'm gonna try not to be Mr. Rogers, but I did enjoy myself talking to you, and I hope you guys enjoy this episode a little bit. Just for old Travis rambling episode 11, Rough Pumpkins. Everyone have a great week. We'll be here with an actual guest next week. Keep it real, everyone. Keep it tight, and keep everything in sight.